I have something to announce. I have become an investor in the Soul Store.
The initial idea when we started the Soul Store was actually a sort of artist community.
किसके दिमाग में आया कि okay we should take Hardik Pandya?
The reason we narrowed down on Hardik Pandya is because he's just generally like a cool, fashionable, fun guy, right? You can think of him wearing like a cool superhero or a cartoon t-shirt. It doesn't seem out of place. None of us even come from family businesses. Yeah, so completely new sort of territory for us. As a founder, what is important is a mindset of I will figure it out.
What was the savings that broadly what you all plan to put out here?
I think collectively we had about 5.5 lakhs.
Sick.
That's kind of what made the 5.5 lakhs, I think, organically grow to about a 30 crore run rate company.
Can you give some example? Let's give this one particular experiment a chance. Why did it not work?
We signed 2 more stores in Jan Feb 2020 and then COVID happens. It's also the first time we were at a very, very real danger of maybe what if the company shuts down, right? Shit. What if all the work of the last 5, 6, 7 years just literally goes to zero, and not for a bad decision or because you've made stupid bets?
What is your vision for TSL next 3 to 5 years?
We will IPO in the next couple of years. As founders, would we want to sort of build India's biggest, most loved casual wear brands?
I'm sure you are one of many जिसने कभी ना कभी The Soul Store से एक t-shirt तो खरीदा ही होगा. This episode is for people who are fans of DC, of Marvel, of WWE, or any other comic book out there. Meet Harsh Lal, the co-founder of the Soul Store. In this episode, you're going to learn how 4 friends got together with a savings of just 5 lakhs and build a 250 crore brand. How they've built a 6 million consumer-facing brand. And how they got Hardik Pandya as the brand ambassador and now also the investor of this company. Harsh is a super chilled guy. Very down to earth, very passionate about product, quality, brand building. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you Harsh, the co-founder of the Soul Store, only on Level Up. Welcome to Level Up Podcast Season 2, where our purpose is to help India's youth become smarter and better individuals by sharing successful stories of founders. To help us achieve this purpose, please do subscribe to this channel and click on the notification bell below, so that we can make more such videos and this video can reach maximum people. So, finally we are here, Harsh. This is a dream podcast.
Thank you.
Dream guest. I've been a customer and a user of your products, the Soul Store t-shirts. You can see this. And been a fan from a user to a fan of the brand and the way it has evolved. Literally seen it, of course not from the grassroots, but literally seen it because I've been wearing the product since the last 7-8 years odd. To do a podcast with you, that is the icing on the cake. So thank you for coming on Level Up and gracing this show with your presence. Lovely to have you. But before we proceed ahead, how are you doing today? How was your day?
Been a hectic day. Yeah, it's at the end of the day, so it's been a long day. But we were discussing WWE and a bunch of other fun common interests. So yeah, I mean, always looking forward to a nice conversation.
Wonderful. I think WWE is like a, that very stronghold between us, and I can really feel that positive vibe because of this
100%.
topic, WWE.
Yeah, I've gotten in trouble a lot as a kid in school because I used to love practicing those moves. But yeah,
Oh, so that is what we used to do in our class. The desk used to be there, and I used to jump on the ring during snack breaks and all.
I think especially in a boys' school, you just have
Boys'
lots
school,
of rowdy behavior.
Complete rowdy behavior during lunch breaks and all. So crazy, man. Tell me, before we get into this WWE thing also, and I want to understand the business angle also to WWE and other licenses, etc. What you guys do. But before we get there, tell me something about yourself. Tell me something about your childhood, apart from probably including WWE also. I know you are a big fan, but tell me something about what were your college days like, school days like, your family background, etc. Tell me something about complete pre-Soul Store ka days.
Got it. I think this is it almost sounds like a job interview. But no, so yeah, I think I have a twin sister, I have an elder brother, mom, dad, right? So in a way, the youngest of the three kids, and everyone in my family has been super inclined academically. So I think there was always that expectation that you have to sort of work hard, get good grades, then you get a good college, then you get a good job. I think that discipline was always there as far as studies were concerned. But I was definitely the worst behaved of all three kids, right? I'm the only kid who got in trouble. Parents had to come to school to meet teachers. So I think I had a good balance of making sure I got my marks and kept my parents happy. But I also kept my parents on their toes as far as having fun in school and college was concerned.
So you're based in Mumbai, only, born in Mumbai.
Yeah, born and brought up in
Which school?
Bombay. Went to Campion, then went to
Okay.
Jai Hind for my 11th and 12th. Did science because I got good grades in the 10th, and it just keeps options open after that. And then there were three options, right? You've got good marks, so either you become an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer. Engineering I didn't want to do because my brother had done it, and my mom told me, she's like, it's a lot of hard work. I think you're too lazy. I don't think you should do it. I skipped medicine because I was not interested in biology. So then the other obvious option was you should do law because you've got good marks. So did law for 5 years in GLC. Very interesting time. Did a bunch of
Churchgate,
yeah. Did so my school and college were basically Colaba and Churchgate within like a
Yeah,
kilometer
yeah.
or two of each other. And the one thing I realized when I was in GLC and I did a bunch of internships and I saw so many people who've taken up law as a career path, I was like, this is not something I can do. Like I don't think I had the patience or the excitement for it. So I did a bunch of internships. Then post GLC, I did a bunch of things. I did journalism for 2 months. I did an internship. I've learned tattooing for 6 months.
Tattooing.
Yeah, I've learned
Oh,
tattooing for 6 months.
wow.
I was in advertising for about 7, 8 months. I did law for a year, and then finally I realized that there is nothing that I seem to be liking. I need to figure stuff out. And I think that's actually kind of the mind space that my co-founders were also in back in 2013, 2014.
This is 2013 you're talking.
Yeah, which is when we decided, you know what, instead of doing something that we don't like, let's just get together, let's have fun, let's do something that we enjoy doing, and we'll take it from there. I think that's kind of how the Soul Store originated 11 years ago.
2013 it originated. Uh, okay. How did you meet your co-founders and whose idea was this, the Soul Store?
So all of us know each other in different ways. Vedang and I know each other since junior college, so we go back about almost 20 years. Vedang, Aditya, and Rohin actually met at their first job together. They all joined the same organization. They all hated the same organization, and they all decided to quit the same organization. And because all of them are engineers, right? A lot of my friends from junior college ended up doing engineering post the 12th. So lots of common friends that all of us have, and yeah, we just kind of decided to do something fun together. So that's how it started.
Whose idea was this? Because at that point in time, तो it would have been a very small seed कि अच्छा
Yeah.
भाई कुछ कीड़ा होगा यार कुछ है नहीं लाइफ में करने को सब
Correct.
जगह से नहीं मजा आ रहा है तो let's do something ऐसा कुछ कपड़े वपड़े चालू कर देते हैं
Yeah.
something. You didn't know that it would become a cultural thing. ना कोई business model होगा planned कि you have to
Absolutely.
do a license business. What it has
Correct.
become today.
Yeah.
How did you all do that?
So I think couple of things. One is I think the first person who said I've had enough of this and I'm going to quit was Aditya. So he actually was the first of the four of us to leave, and he spent those I think 6 odd months just figuring out vendors, talking to people to develop websites. It was a very initial idea at that time. Obviously, we had no idea how licensing works. We were fans of all of the characters and the comics, and we wanted to do something in that space, but no experience, in terms of running an e-commerce store, in terms of apparel manufacturing. Just none of us even come from family businesses. So yeah, so completely new sort of territory for us. And also back in 2013, there weren't, I think e-commerce was still in a very nascent stage. So, your support functions like payment gateways, couriers, etc. I think the entire ecosystem was still getting built at that time.
Flipkart was the only one probably and Myntra,
I think
Jabong.
Flipkart, Myntra,
Amazon had
Jabong,
just
Amazon,
come.
but again, very, very early. I think
Very
a lot
early
of
days.
people were still not very comfortable shopping online,
Yeah.
online payments, etc. But it was one of those passion projects, to be honest. You know what? We don't like our jobs. We've all got decent marks in life. We'll try this for 6 months. And we assume that that's what our first job ka savings would take us till. And we said, "ठीक है, if we can make it last for longer, great. Otherwise, we'll go back and get a job. But let us try this. We're 23, 24 years old. If you're not going to try it now, when are you going to
When
try
are you
it?"
going to try? What
So-
was the savings that broadly what you all plan to put out here?
I think collectively we had about 5.5 lakhs.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, first jobs don't pay very well. Na?
Ah.
So yeah, and then also when it's your first job, you're earning, you want to spend, you want to have fun also. So yeah, not a lot of money to begin with, but a lot of desperation to not go back to a job, and I think that's kind of what made the 5.5 lakhs, I think, organically grow to about a 30 crore run rate company, which is actually when we raised our first round of funding. So that was the organic bootstrap growth that we had for the first 5.5 years. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So you don't come from any brand background, you don't come
No.
from a business background,
Nothing.
So how, matlab, so before how also, what is your role at Soul Store, and
Got
then
it.
how have you built that kind of a skill set? Because it's very difficult for someone today. People are looking at degrees, they are looking to upskill, they are looking at some courses or something like that, right? To if you want to upskill yourself or become better at something or something, how you at 23 24 started building something and then figured it out on the way. This is a very big challenge for today's youngsters also, right? They all want to run behind some degree or some kind of an education background to have, right? What did you do basically at that point in time, and till where you are today, basically?
I think honestly, what has not changed in the last 10, 11 years is the fact that you're always going to not be prepared for what comes tomorrow, right? So when we started, obviously the company was at an extremely small scale. You get 3, 4, 5 orders a day. You know all the customers' names by heart. You know who's ordered what product. You're packing the product on your own. You're going to the vendor to pick it up. You're coordinating with the courier company. You are the customer care team. You are the marketing team. You are the design team, right? But I think that's the fun part. You only learn by actually doing it. I think you can do courses, you can have degrees, etc. But till you don't actually do things from the ground up, you will never understand what the challenges are and how to build it. So while you look at where the TSS has scaled to today, right? I think we're about 700 plus team members. There are still 100 things that we are doing today which are 0 to 1s, right? Stores happened a couple of years ago that was completely different. You're getting into new categories, into new sort of categories, sorry. We are looking to open international stores in the next 6 months. That's going to be a big 0 to 1
Which
for us.
countries?
So we're looking at the Middle East. There are a couple of options that we have, very, very early days. But I think as a founder, what is important is a mindset of I will figure it out. I don't think you're ever completely prepared for what challenges you're going to face. And if you're very comfortable with where you are, if you don't want to try something new, you don't want to try something different, I think it's very, very easy to get comfortable. But when you have that kida that, I always want to grow, let's do a new category, let's try a store here, let's do international, why don't we also try this out? I think having that mindset or that kida to always explore and do something better is probably what separates a founder from a non-founder. So I don't think there is any magic potion or a magic degree that prepares you. It's simply just grinding through, making mistakes, learning and figuring it out.
All four are like this?
Yeah.
Or there are, matlab, someone would be little more defensive, then someone would be little more aggressive. कि नहीं ये करते हैं, भले
No,
पैसा
I think
डालेंगे तो डालेंगे, but let's do it.
no, I think all of us have kidas. There are
Acha,
different
all of
different kidas. Yeah, like I think that's the fun thing about doing your own thing, right? Whether it's I want to open a store here, I want to get that license. Let's try this category. Why don't we do international? I think all of us have different goals, different aspirations, different kidas, or something new that you want to do. But as an organization, we're always super flexible, right? We are very clear. We want to try something before we say no. So whatever experiments are there, if you can do it at a small scale, sort of learn with as few mistakes and as cheaply as possible. If it works, double down. If it doesn't work, drop it, right? And we've had so many mistakes, designs that have not worked, categories that have not worked, licenses that have not worked. But you figure it out. Yeah, I mean, nothing comes planned in life. So the idea is,
Can you give some example in
Yeah.
your early days? Okay, first
Yeah.
1-2 years, when probably, of course, you all were struggling it out and putting all your
Yeah.
efforts.
We
the
still are.
saving. Yeah, I wouldn't say that though, but ठीक है. You were putting in your savings. Still money was just coming in, flowing in, I'm assuming,
Yeah.
right? So tab, which you all thought, okay, let's give it a shot. Let's give this one particular experiment a chance. But it did not work. In the first 1-2 years, I'm talking, okay, not right now.
Got it.
And also, one experiment which did work, and you all doubled down, and that has become quite big in the company now.
Got it. So I'll tell you when we
But
started.
ये पुराना वाला.
Yeah, I think this is like maybe like first 1 or 2 years. We honestly started as a slightly different organization, and um, the initial idea when we started the Soul Store was actually a sort of artist community. So I'll tell you what we wanted to build initially. And it's crazy because I've actually not thought about this pilot that we had done in many years. I think that's how old it is. But what we realize is that, hey, we've got contacts with vendors, so we can figure manufacturing out. We've got a website, we do marketing, we can figure the entire back-end operations. So why don't we become a really cool platform for artists? So if you're an artist, you've got great artwork, you don't know how to monetize it, you come up with the designs, we figure the printing, the shipping, the marketing, logistics, customer care, the entire backend, and we give you a royalty for it. So we thought, can we create like a really cool artist community or artist platform? And as an artist, you will design the product and obviously you will market it because you want people to buy it. That was a sort of very initial idea that we had. I think it didn't really take off because the artists also who wanted to work with us, sort of budding artists, they were sort of trying to create their own base as well. So we were not able to see significant scale at that time. But maybe somewhere that kind of eventually nudged us towards the whole licensing model, which is something that really kicked off. So one of our early
So basically, you're saying that one pilot did not work.
Yeah, and we
But-
pivoted very quickly. I think we shut down that artist community platform maybe in the first 1 or 2 years when we didn't see traction. So we had our own designs, obviously our own funky designs, quotes, etc. But we also wanted to work with artists because on paper it seemed to make sense, right? You do the designing. You will
that cost
market
is yours.
Yeah, you will market it to your friends and
That
family.
cost is also yours.
That's also yours. And what we do, we are the enabler, so we can figure the production and the back end work out. I think that was one of the initial ideas that probably didn't go as per plan. Two experiments that we did maybe in the first couple of years, which did really well. One is we tied up with a bunch of comedians and artists, right? We tied up with OML. That was a big one for us with OML, which managed multiple comedians and artists back in the day. So you work with one, it does well, another artist wants to work with you. That really helps you, especially when you're a sort of young and up and coming brand and these comedians and artists are established. When they sort of put out a post or a story or they give you the validation, hey, buy my official merchandise at the Soul Store, it opens up a much larger audience. It also gives you a lot of credibility as a young brand that's trying to make its space. Also, our first license, I think, was back in 2014 or 2015. It was Friends and The Big Bang Theory. So there's a whole different story about how we went ahead with that license, and that kind of kept
Tell us about that.
snowballing into 200 plus today.
But before you tell us, so basically, very important to note here is
Yeah.
what I'm learning is that you piloted one project
Yeah.
about the artist community.
Yeah.
You realized within one and a half year कि ये नहीं चलने वाला boss.
Yeah.
मतलब it's not, you cannot make money out of this.
Yeah, or
And it's not scalable.
maybe we did not have
The
we did not
skill
have
set
the
or
skill
whatever.
set
Yeah.
or the size for us to be able to demand that from the customers.
Okay. And immediately that led you to this kind of a licensing model. So one thing led to the other. One failed thing led to a project which could
Correct.
probably succeed.
Yes.
And which is now in that, succeeding stage basically.
Correct. And I think what is probably common between what worked and what didn't work was, hey, we've got a website and the backend systems. Can we work with people who will help us with marketing? Because as a startup which is completely bootstrapped, you don't have a lot of money to spend on marketing. You can't afford to give discounts and burn money to acquire customers.
Yeah.
We
You're
wanted
not
to
VC backed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure that from the first order itself, you're making money. So the idea here was, how do you get people who are bigger than you and a lot more famous than you to actually market the brand, right? How do you reach to people without having to burn money? I think maybe that was the sort of common point or the genesis which eventually took us more in the artist merchandise direction and then eventually licensing as well.
Tell me about the Big Bang and all, Friends and Big Bang.
So our
How did
first,
that happen?
So our first license was with Warner. Today we have multiple IPs and categories with them, including DC. So we are just, again, as young kids who have nothing to lose, we approached, I think must have gone on LinkedIn, figured out a couple of contacts, made calls. And we said we want to do DC merchandise. So we just reached out to them and said we want the DC license. We had absolutely no idea how much it costs, what do you do, what do you not do. And they were also wondering, right? You guys are young people. you all
in
don't have
India.
your stuff
Okay.
in order. What if the quality is not good? What if the designs are not good? So they said, we will not give you the DC license just yet because that's only something which is given to more established brands. Why don't you take Friends and the Big Bang Theory? Because they owned all of those IPs. And back in 2014, I think Friends had finished its first run on television, and it had slowly started coming back again and again on Comedy Central. So it wasn't as popular as it is today.
But it was
In that revival mode.
revival mode. Yeah.
Yeah, so we luckily got the license
Yeah,
at a cheap cost. I don't even know how much, but if we could afford it, it was probably quite
Uh-huh.
reasonably
It was
priced.
affordable that point
Yeah.
of time.
And again, we didn't know what to do with licenses, right? So you sign a license, you get access to this style guide. A style guide is basically a content library with different artwork, colors, graphics, logos, etc. And as a licensee, you're basically supposed to take those designs and artwork, create designs from it, get it approved, and then sell it, right? That's usually how it happens. Now, most licensees will take those designs, those artworks
But you
as
have
it
to
is.
pay an upfront cost
Yes, so
to
that
the
there's a minimum,
licensor.
yeah, there's a minimum guarantee or a percentage of sales, whichever is higher.
Okay.
So we didn't know how the entire process works, right? Most licensees will take the existing designs, put it on a t-shirt, very simple, no innovation, get it approved and sell it as it is. We thought that, hey, if I'm a fan of Big Bang Theory or Friends, I would obviously want a much cooler t-shirt, a much better design. So we actually went ahead and we redesigned it from scratch. We almost didn't use the style guide at all, which is unheard of, right? Because one is you're not supposed to, and two is you're paying all of that license fee so that you can use their artwork, right? But we were just thinking, as fans, I would want to do something different. So they were actually very pleasantly surprised with the amount of effort that we had put to completely redesign stuff. They actually trusted us, saying, you know what, we are letting you modify the artwork. We want you to go ahead and launch these products because the designs are really cool. And then the other thing that we did is, when you bought a t-shirt from the Big Bang Theory collection, I'm not sure if you're a fan of the show or if you watched
I'm a
it.
fan of Big Bang.
You are,
I have
right?
not seen Friends.
So you remember you have the Sheldon roommate agreement that he signs with Leonard.
Leonard.
So every time you bought a product from the Big Bang Theory, you would literally get a customized roommate agreement. So you'd get, dear Devansh, you are agreeing to these terms and conditions, and in the end it's written signed by Dr. Sheldon Cooper.
Wow.
Now that one sort of roommate agreement or piece of paper must have cost us, I don't know, maybe 5-10 rupees per letter.
Yeah.
We had so many people writing into us and posting about the letter, which was a highlight for them, right? It's not something that you expect when you buy a product. We actually
It's a
had
huge value addition to a fan's
absolutely,
life. Yeah.
yeah. We had people spending 500, 600, 700 rupees on the t-shirt for that letter, because it's not about the cost of the product. I think it's not about the transaction. It's about
that
it's
emotion.
about the emotion. It's about them feeling these guys get it, right? From the design to the packaging to the marketing, they genuinely believe that these products are launched by fans for fans. And I think that core philosophy of understanding what fans of each football team, music artist, TV series, comic, etc. want, that's been sort of at the core of our philosophy across the 200 licenses that we've launched.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. So
Yeah.
that would be how Hotmail had that viral marketing of putting that one sentence
Yeah.
in their email that do share it with your friends who want to open a free Hotmail account.
Yeah.
So that virality, and he became like the god of viral
Correct.
marketing. I think
Yeah.
this is one of those kind of things where you put it out to them, and that fan himself or herself will spread the word of mouth that bhai, it is touching me.
Yeah.
It touches me.
Absolutely. 100%.
So that's a brilliant marketing, or I don't know if you all had thought of it as a
Honestly,
marketing.
we just thought
but-
that, as it was very simple. As a fan, if I had to buy a product, what designs would I like? And as a fan of the show, I think, what would I really, really look forward to? It was purely from a fan's perspective, from a customer's perspective. That's why we put the entire effort of redesigning the range, working on the roommate agreement, really pushing our licensor to give us approvals. And they were super supportive. They understand that we wanted to build something truly special, and they trusted us that we are going to represent their brand in the right way. So yeah, that was
That's amazing
10
for
years
someone
ago.
to back you when you are a young brand, and
Yeah.
to have that faith and trust.
Correct.
Probably not knowing कि भाई ये लोग क्या करेंगे.
Yeah.
And he's based in US, you are in India.
Yeah. So they had an Indian team, but yeah, I mean, TSS was still a very, very,
Very young, man.
young bet. But I think they saw the passion and they saw the kida and the excitement, and they're like, these guys will take care of our brand and IP.
And so this was only for the Indian market, the licensing?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you all get licensing even for abroad market, or this is only for India to sell in India?
So right now, yeah, I mean, all our licenses are for India and the Middle East because we are expanding internationally. So usually, again, depending on the commercial agreement, you can have one or multiple regions. You'll have different sales channels, whether it's online or offline. You'll have different IPs because each of your larger companies owns multiple IPs. So you can then decide which IPs you want to work with. And then you also have different categories. So there's different ways to slice and dice an agreement. But today, all the licensors want us to take all the IPs, all the categories and territories because they know that eventually, if TSS does something, they're going to do something great with it. So our licensors keep pushing us to take more and more IPs because they trust what we will do with the character and the brand.
Okay. I want to talk about this, how a customer finds you at that initial time, how they were finding you, and today how it has changed, because of course now it has become a big, large brand, a large, emotional connect brand. I think customers have with you. So I want to talk to you about how, engagement with customers was back in 2014-15. How you all were acquiring, how people came to know about you guys, because top 100% there would be a lot of struggling to market.
Yeah.
Channels were not, the online channels were not that open at that point in time. It was not explored that much.
Yeah.
And today, how it has changed?
Got it. So interesting question. I think what helped us in the starting couple of years, like I said, when we were bootstrapped, and you did not have the privilege of burning money, giving discounts to attract customers, our collaborations with artists and licenses really, really helped us. I'll tell you what I mean. When you came to the Soul Store back in 2013, 14, 15, you were not necessarily buying because of the Soul Store. You were buying because you're a Harry Potter fan or a Batman fan or a Friends fan, right? So we were essentially enablers. What we wanted to do with the artist community, we were doing with the
Indirectly ho raha
licenses.
tha. हाँ.
Correct. So here, your IP is already popular, right? Your content creators, your license owners have already done the job of making Batman and Harry Potter cool. Our job was just to tell customers, hey, these really cool products are available at the Soul Store. You're a fan, why don't you come check it out? So licensing and characters became a great hook for us to acquire customers for the first time. It also became a great hook for us to build that credibility that if these guys have official merchandise of all of these characters, they are probably a legitimate brand. And then obviously, the first part is acquiring the customer, but then making sure that your product quality is great. If a customer has issues, you're taking care of it. They believe that they're getting value for money. I think the retention part honestly is the bigger challenge always. And that's something that takes years and years of consistency, from product quality to communication to customer support, to value for money. If there are any issues, they'll take care of us. I think that's a much longer journey. That's also where a lot of brands are struggling today. So when we look at 2013, 14, 15, the advantage is that it was a lot less cluttered in terms of the number of brands that were there. So in that sense, marketing was a lot cheaper to customers. Today it's a lot more expensive. We had the advantage of using licenses and IPs to sort of piggyback on and build the customer trust. And then what we realized is that as the sort of brand kept growing, while people used to make their first purchase with a licensed product or a character product, people kept coming back for the solids and the TSS originals as well. Like the t-shirt that I'm wearing, for example, is not a licensed design. It is one of, yeah, it's a TSS product. Once I trust the brand, I trust the quality, I know that it's value for money, it fits me well, then I'm open to trying their planes as well. So we've seen that the majority of customers who buy planes are repeats because they are people who trust the brand, right? So yeah, pop culture is the sort of entry point, and then your consistency helps retain the customers. It's also how our marketing has evolved over the years. So when we started again, you had to make sure that you're getting maximum bang for the buck. So it was entirely performance marketing driven with a complete and heavy focus on ROAS, right? Am I able to make money on every order? As the brand has scaled, obviously
What was the ROAS back then?
I don't remember what it was 8-9 years ago, but significantly higher than what it is today.
What is it today?
Today, again, it depends. You run ads for various campaigns. It's usually 4+.
That's pretty good, but still it's good.
Yeah.
I mean,
But again, I
not
mean,
many-
it's a slightly oversimplified number because for different campaigns, different purposes.
Yeah, I'm sure, but
you run branding ads,
yeah.
performance ads,
Even
etc.
if you take 3 to 5, it's
Yeah.
not very
Yeah.
bad.
I think focusing on profitability and making sure you make money on every order is something that will never change even 20 years down the line. So yeah, today our marketing has now evolved to a mix of performance and brand marketing because, like you said, a lot of people know the Soul Store today, right? They're a lot more interested in the company, in the story, what are the values that the brand associates itself with, what are the causes that the brand believes in. So as a brand scales, as you sort of build more and more trust with the customers, your spends kind of get split between performance and brand marketing because now it's simply a question of continuously making sure you're top of mind versus telling customers, hey, the Soul Store exists, please check us out. So that's sort of been the evolution over the last 10, 11 years.
Okay. Let's break this last 11 years into two aspects. One is pre-COVID, one is post-COVID. I think pre-COVID, I'm not completely sure. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Pre-COVID, I think TSS, had not grown that significantly. But post-COVID, I think because of the whole internet wave and then the geo wave, etc., it must have taken off the roofs. Uh, I'm assuming. Again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what predominantly has been a fashion or a trend, so to say, in a D2C kind of a space, right? So, what were 2, 3 factors that you all were doing pre-COVID? And then what changed post-COVID for you? Another 2, 3 factors, what changed and what you all started implementing? You all had to be quick to probably pivot or to do something different post-COVID, which made you all fast-paced and, got you to this particular stage right now.
Got it. So I think honestly, even when I look at pre-COVID, maybe the year or year and a half before COVID itself was very different from the first 4, 5 years. We raised our first round of funding towards the end of
Year
20.
before COVID.
Yeah,
So
so
2019.
18, 19.
18, 19.
So end 2018 is when we raised our first round of funding. That's when we actually started. So I'll tell you why we raised our first round of funding.
Yeah, I
Interesting
wanted to
story.
know that.
We were profitable. We were making money. There was no sort of urgency to raise. We were surviving. What we realized is at that time, most online brands were actually giving discounts to acquire customers because that was a sort of hook. What we realized is that we were actually not able to fulfill demand. We had the opposite problem. Where we were regularly stocked out, we did not have enough capital to actually build the inventory to scale. And we realized that this was a missed opportunity because products were always sold out and there was enough demand from the customers. So we actually raised our first round of funding to fuel growth versus survival. That was end 2018.
How much was that round?
I think we had raised 10 or 12 crores in end 2018. And then 2019 is when we opened our first store. So that was again a bit of an experiment. We had the courage to do it because we had money in
That
the
was
bank.
Mumbai, right?
Yes, at
Colaba?
Linking Road, Bandra.
Bandra.
One of
And
the
then
most
one was
premium.
Colaba also.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
the very first few ones, one was
Yeah,
in
that was the
Colaba.
third one.
Third one, yeah. I'd seen that, yeah.
So obviously, if you don't have investor money and you're sort of putting all the money back in the business, you're not going to open a store at one of the most expensive locations in the country. But that's what funding does, right? I think it helps you take certain courageous bets that you otherwise wouldn't. So we opened our store in 2019. Again, our idea is if the store breaks even, it's great branding for us. We had no expectations. Investors told us, you all are doing really well online. Why do you want to get into this? So many brands bleed. Don't do it. We said we're going to try one store. If it doesn't work, we will shut it down. If it works, let's figure it out. That store fortunately surpassed all our expectations. I'll tell you 2, 3 interesting metrics about that store. It was operationally profitable from the first month itself. Most brands take 6 to 9 months to sort of
Wow.
warm up, right? Customers get
Yeah,
used
yeah,
to the
of
idea.
course.
We didn't know what a benchmark is. We were
I
very
have
clear.
clients that take 6,
Yeah.
9 months in the apparel space. Yeah.
So we
Absolutely.
were just clear we want to break even. We did not know anything beyond that. Then the other interesting thing is the capex that we invested in doing up the store. And again, this store was designed by founders and graphic designers who designed t-shirts and a contractor who had electricians and carpenters. No expertise, no quality, nothing.
So no interior designer,
Zero.
no architect or
We
something
just
like
went, we said, hey, this location looks nice. It looks like it's got a lot of footfall. Let's do it. We'll figure it out. That is basically the way the first store was launched. We recovered the capex of that store in about 4 or 5 months. We didn't even know what to expect. The industry standard is anywhere between 12 to
12 to
24
8,
months.
Yeah, 18 months the minimum.
Or maybe even 24 if you have your larger flagship stores. We did it within 4 to 5
This
months.
was how much square foot?
This was about 600 square feet. Costs a bomb still because it's linking road Bandra. So then we got excited. You know what? This could actually make sense. It's not just a branding experiment. We can actually look at this as a serious business. We signed 2 more stores in Jan Feb 2020, and then COVID happens, right? Now, a couple of interesting things happened during and post COVID. Coming back to your question, one is things were really, really bad, I'll be honest. I think the first couple of months, working from home is completely new for all of us. Every week, the government regulations are changing. Our products are a non essential category. So, even if a customer is buying today, there is no clarity on whether I can ship it to you today, tomorrow, after 1 month, after 3 months. It's also the first time we were at a very, very real danger of maybe what if the company shuts down, right? Before that, you had good months, bad months, but you've never been like, shit, what if all the work of the last 5, 6, 7 years just literally goes to zero, and not for a bad decision or because you've made stupid bets, just because bad luck.
Macro, yeah.
So that was a really, really tough time, honestly. I think we're very proud of the fact that we didn't have to lay anyone off. I think our team responded fantastically to just figuring things out, working from home, realigning priorities. We had our own manufacturing unit, so we quickly repurposed machines to launch masks, which you could ship out, also to keep the money flowing. Did a couple of experiments, gave some discounts to customers saying, shop from us today, support us. We will ship in the next 1 or 2 months whenever we can. So we've done a lot of jugaad at that time. We even converted some of our t-shirt fabric to home shorts because everyone was working from home. You wanted comfort clothes. So we said, why don't we convert some of our like sort of dead material into shorts and other home products. So a lot of jugaad, a lot of flexibility, a lot of learnings. But the biggest advantage, I think, for us during COVID was a couple of things changed, maybe permanently. The first is people got used to shopping online, right? A lot more comfort. The best example I give is my mom downloaded the Big Basket app. I think the concept of our parents using their phone to buy their groceries versus going to the local shop is a massive, massive change in mindset. People were not comfortable shopping on COD because, again, like infection, spreading diseases, exchanging cash. So people got a lot more comfortable shopping online. The third important thing was work from home happened, right? People sort of started prioritizing comfort. So you're not going to buy a new shirt or a new suit during COVID, but you want to buy more casual wear. And I think in the last 4 or 5 years, people have now started looking at casual wear not as ghar ka kapda or comfort wear, but I want to wear cool casual wear even when I'm
Office
stepping
wear,
out, right? Whether I'm going to office,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
traveling somewhere, I'm stepping out for a party. So I think that cultural shift of casual wear becoming cool and trendy and not ghar ka kapda. I think these were 2, 3 major shifts that happened in COVID, and we've not looked back since. The other interesting thing was once, I think by end 2021, early 2022, when sort of COVID kind of got phased out, there was a lot of revenge shopping. I think offline just suddenly absolutely blew up. And in the last 2, 2.5 years is when we've had a massive jump in the overall number of stores and our offline expansion. I think if COVID hadn't happened again, it's difficult to predict the future, but maybe we would have opened stores at a slower pace. We sort of opened a couple of stores, completely stopped for 2 years, and then there's just been a massive, massive boom after that. So lots of interesting things have happened in the sort of pre-post COVID phase.
Interesting this is. So, when you say that a lot of revenge shopping happened, I think it happened with travel also. Revenge travel, revenge outgoing and eating, going to restaurants, trying out new food, going to theaters again. So, a lot of revenge, all those things happened, right? Uh, how do you guys generate this kind of a customer insight or customer data that these guys are interested into buying stuff from me, whether it's online, offline? What kind of metrics do you guys use to you know so during this COVID and the way customers reacted to your products and people wanted to buy, and even after COVID when this entire revenge shopping started taking off, how do you guys generate so much of customer data and insights? What kind of insights you look at which indicates to you कि अच्छा इनको पसंद है या इसको पसंद नहीं आया या इसने ऐसा feedback दिया, so I should go back and implement this change, or I should look at my product quality again, or this is like creating a rage, so I have to really double down into this. What kind of insights and how do you generate these insights?
Got it. So I think how we take decisions, broadly speaking, is two buckets. One is your gut, right? You're just generally seeing, okay, there's a lot more work from home. People are not going to be buying shirts. They want more comfort wear. What can we do, right? So one is just generally based on the environment. You take a call on what direction you feel the brand wants to go and what would work, what would not. But the second half of that is backing that up with what customers are actually asking for. So we have a couple of different channels where we get customer feedback. So online, you've got calls, emails, messages on social media, comments, etc. At your stores, you have customers giving you feedback one on one. What we do is every week, and this is a practice that we've had for a very long time now. Every week, when we have our leadership meeting with all the heads of department, we actually, the first hour is just dedicated to customer feedback. So we have someone from the customer experience team actually sharing feedback that we've collected across multiple online and offline channels, right? It could be feedback for the store experience, for the product quality, what designs they like, what designs they don't like, logistic related feedback, app related feedback. So I think listening to what customers want online and offline, collating that and taking actions has always been at the core of the brand. Um, and every leader at the soul store does call outs every week to customers just to understand specific to their function or their department, what is the feedback from the customer, what can we do better, what do we need to change. That's something that we implement, whether it's what category to launch, what design to launch, what license to launch next, where should we open a store, what do you not like at the soul store. If you launched a new category, do you like the fit, is it too tight, is it too loose compared to what you want, is it too long, is it too short, is the product value for money? What did you see on the website? What did you get? Are you happy? There's multiple metrics that we track from a customer insights perspective, and then you always have data, right? Your conversions, your revenues per view, is your return higher or lower for this category? So there's multiple quantitative and qualitative feedbacks that different teams take for their verticals to ensure that you're always on top of what people expect from you.
Any particular example of what kind of feedbacks a customer would have given? Maybe let's say someone would have given, some kind of a feedback or a suggestion that he or she did not like something in the product. And then what did you all do to make that change?
There's honestly tons of small examples. It could be something as simple as, hey, I went on the app, I tried doing this, and then I wasn't able to do this. Can you check it out, right? Maybe something small that's been missed at our end. Technical stuff, or like, hey, I bought this product, this one thing seemed to be off, maybe it got missed at our end, and you change it in the next lot. I think there's a lot of small feedbacks. Also, what you realize is that while a lot of customers will have individual preferences, the moment you start noticing trends, right, over a couple of weeks or over a few months, if customers are again and again asking for certain licenses or asking us to open stores in certain cities, when you see that the same sort of a similar feedback is coming back again and again and again, then you also decide how much you would want to invest in that feedback, right? Individually, I can have a lot of opinions and a lot of feedbacks, but when many people are saying the same thing or similar things, then you know it's something that you probably want to action and get on track. So it's very, very interesting to do customer call outs and just, physically visit stores and interact with them.
This would ensure, so these kind of customer calls, feedback calls, suggestion calls, etc. regularly
Yes.
would really ensure a good repeat rate, right, for you guys, whether it's
Absolutely.
online or at the store also.
Yeah.
What would be the repeat rate right now?
So over a 12-month period, we're close to 120% repeat rate.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's honestly, if I have to try and really oversimplify what you need to do to build a long-term, sustainable, profitable business, it's focus on repeats. I think everything else is noise. Takes a lot of effort, trust, focus on quality, building a great app, offline experience, etc., etc. But it's very, very expensive to acquire new customers today. I think if that's what your strategy is, you're not building for the long term. And one of the reasons we've been able to sustain over the last 10, 11 years, while so many brands have sort of come and gone, is because we've built that credibility and that trust and that loyalty over a long period of time, right? When I ask you what are your favorite brands, a lot of people say Nike, for example, Apple, BMW, etc. These are brands. The reason you love their products and their brands is not only because their products are significantly better than competition, it's also because they've spent the last 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years consistently delivering the products. So today, if I give you any product with a Nike tick, that tick is not just a logo, that tick signifies quality, it signifies that this is a superior product. It takes a long time to build a brand, and I think people thinking we want to build a X million dollar company in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, I think you're doing it the wrong way. So yeah, retention is the sort of one overall religion like metric that we follow at the source.
But in today's day, right, there are so many brands. In fact, we talk to so many D2C brands, whether in apparel, non-apparel, or any other category also, if not D2C, where people are really burning money on performance marketing.
Yeah.
And everything boils down for them, probably they are in the initial 4-5 years or whatever, 3-4 years, but everything for them boils down to performance marketing and the ROAS part, right?
Yeah.
How do you change from them? Because there's a very thin line ke you are just getting too deep into performance marketing, ads, ROAS. When do you realize कि boss ये इससे बाहर निकल के I need to also focus on brand building to create a long-term sustainable company or a profitable brand? When do you take that switch? When do you take that switch? Because in a founder's mind, what happens is, I'll tell you from my experience with the founders that we talk, that they are scared कि भाई अगर मैं ये कम करूँगा तो मेरा sale drop हो जाएगा. If I'm going to pitch to an investor within 3 months, if my sales dip, then it will show a decline in the growth. That kind of question.
I think you've answered your question by saying when I talk to an investor, right? It really depends on, as a founder, what are you building for? Are you building for this month or this quarter sale? Do you want to show 3, 6, 12 months of hyper growth to get funding? Or are you looking to build something for the longer term? I think that's a fundamental question that honestly each founder or each company needs to ask. We were very clear from the first day that we just wanted to honestly build a brand where we have fun. We did not have any experience with investors. We did not have the money to burn. So we were very clear that, hey, logically speaking, every dollar or every rupee invested in marketing has to give you a certain return. I have to make money from the first order itself. I think today the landscape is very, very different because it's very cluttered. Targeting has become very expensive. Everyone is targeting the same set of customers broadly with different propositions. And I think you need to ask yourself, even from a performance marketing point, why will I choose, say, your t-shirt or your product or your design over someone else's when I've got absolutely no reason to trust you? I think customers are looking for a story. They are looking for a connect. I know
Proposition is also very
there
much
has-
similar. You don't have very unique or different propositions.
Yeah, you're just, most brands today are hype brands.
थोड़ा
Or-
me too factor आ ही जाता है.
absolutely.
By hook or by crook, somewhere you realize it's a Me Too kind of a thing.
Everyone is now doing that same hype. Like every brand, the design, the product, the logo, the hype, the scarcity, sold out, 50 only pieces. I think it's becoming very, very repetitive. It's very easy to start a brand. It's very easy to start a trend. It's very expensive and very difficult to sustain it. And I think the reason is exactly that. People are thinking on, I want to start a company quickly. I want to grow it quickly. No one is focusing on the basics, right? Your quality, your return rate, talking to customers, understanding what do they want, what do they not want. Am I actually building a story? Am I actually building a connect? Or is the customer simply buying my product as a transaction? I saw the ad, I like the t-shirt, theek hai, kharida. Tomorrow, there is another brand with a better design or a cheaper price point, I'm going to switch. So I think it's more of a mindset issue of building something for the long term versus today. And if you're thinking for today, you're going to prioritize ROAS, basically, or growth, depending on whether or not you've got money to burn. And if you're thinking longer term, then you will think of what is the proposition that I'm selling to the customer. That's also why your spends go from performance marketing to brand marketing, because you have to build that at the side. You can never leave brand marketing or brand building for later. You build your brand from day one itself. Otherwise, you don't have a brand.
I like to also put something about the quality, right? What you mentioned. And I can vouch for that because this is a t-shirt which I'm wearing for last 2.5 years odd. But if you see the stripes or the wordings that are written, it is not Gisawa.
Yeah.
It must have gone for wash like thousands of times already. But it's not Gisawa.
Yeah.
There was another WWE t-shirt which I had bought from some other brand which were not licensing or something, but
Got
unka wo local level pe at online they were selling.
Yeah.
That t-shirt was getting Gisawa. Again, that
Yeah.
had some written thing of, I think it was John Cena's or someone, I'm not too sure. Or
Got
again, Roman Reigns t-shirt only, but it was getting Gisawa
Yeah.
after maybe 6-8 months or something. So I think that again, what you're trying to say about the quality, that matters.
Yeah.
कि अगर मैं 1,000 रुपए दे रहा हूँ एक टी-शर्ट के लिए, it should be able to sustain. I can
Correct.
wear that. It is a good fit. It is good comfort level for me.
Yeah.
I think that matters a lot. It should not get washed out completely, the letters or
Absolutely.
something.
Yeah.
That is very important.
Yeah, that's something we focus heavily on because again, right, if you're spending that much money to acquire a customer today, you literally get one chance to impress them. If the product shrinks after washing, the color bleeds, print is coming off, you have a bad experience with the courier company, you want to return or exchange the product, but it's difficult to, yeah, but it's difficult to get in touch with the company. There are so many different reasons to alienate a customer. And there is absolutely no shortage of options, right? If you don't shop from
Yeah.
brand A, you have
Yeah.
brand B, C, D, E, F
Yeah.
with a similar product and a similar price point. One interesting stat, again, that we're very proud of is our returns are less than 5% of business. For most online apparel brands, it's between 25 to 35, 40% as well. And the reason is multiple things. I saw it, but I changed my mind later. The product that I saw online versus the quality is not the same. This looked much better, but actually it's not worth the amount of money that I spent. It doesn't fit as well. The quality isn't good. Again, when you have so many options, it's very easy for a customer to keep changing their mind. But when you want to build a longer term business, you have to make sure that your product quality or your service quality is right up there. So we actually have a 6-step quality check process, 3 at the vendor's end and 3 at our warehouse end, to make sure that the final product that reaches the customer is exactly how we have shown it on our website or our app. And that's something that we have a very, very low tolerance for. A lot of vendors don't like working with us because our rejection rates are significantly higher than the industry. But we're also very clear that what we're trying to build is a brand. Sometimes it means that your products will not be in stock because you've rejected a lot. You may lose out on sales because the product did not meet quality standards and you had to reject it. But again, when you're thinking longer term, you're okay to lose today's sales. When you're thinking, I want to hit my targets this month, you will compromising. You know what? The print is slightly up or down. It's okay. Let me invert it. Let me send it to the customer. We will figure it out. I think that we will figure it out mindset for the customer. You fool them once, fool them twice. You can't keep doing
you
it
cannot
again and
keep doing
again.
it. The
So
customer
yeah, I
is
think
smart.
these basics, I think are
You can't do gimmicks. I think there are many
Absolutely
companies which
not.
are doing gimmicks now
yeah,
with the advertisement, with the schemes, with the discount offers, but product में दम नहीं है.
yeah.
So there are
So
many marketing gimmicks that are happening.
Absolutely. And what will happen, theek hai, as a customer, I'll be like, cool, looks interesting. You'll try
Ah,
me once
yeah.
because of the gimmick or the price
Yeah.
point. But if a customer doesn't like what they're buying, they're never going to come back to you a second time, right?
Correct.
That's why sustaining is so difficult because your CACs are extremely high.
Hmm.
And if your lifetime value of the customer does not justify the amount that you are spending acquiring them, you're always going to be on a downward trend of burning money. And that part of the equation is not what people focus on. It's more burning money, acquiring customers,
Yeah.
but not sustaining the
that.
repeats. Yeah.
Correct. Got it. Very interesting. Very interesting. Let's come to your recent news about Hardik Pandya.
Yeah.
Now that it is out, also we can
Officially,
talk about
yes.
it. We can talk
Yeah.
about it freely.
Yeah.
Tell me, how did you guys meet him? Who contacted him? किसके दिमाग में आया कि okay, we should take Hardik Pandya? I think the brand endorsement deal happened 2 years, 1.5, 2 years back.
Yeah, I think it's about we are in N24, right? I'm getting old. I think our partnership with him started early 2022.
2022. So
Yeah.
2.5 years.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. So yeah, whatever. So who got this idea and how did you all come across this idea कि अच्छा हार्दिक पांड्या के साथ करते हैं?
Got it.
And that time I think he was not having the best time of his career. I
Yes.
don't know. Maybe I think he was
Kind
not
of.
having the best time.
Yeah.
But so what made you think कि अच्छा he is that potential brand ambassador, the face of my brand? And were you all also exploring some other options?
So again, honestly, a lot of stuff when you think about it in hindsight comes down to luck or timing. There's a lot of things that you can't really game or you can't really
Narrow
choreograph.
down to just that.
So I think in 2021 is when we had raised our second round of funding. So we had money in the bank. And then obviously we've also made mistakes. There is pressure to grow. There is expectation to grow, right? So you tell yourself, okay, I've got money in the bank. What do all brands do to scale? They get celebrities, they get endorsements, they spend on brand marketing, right? This is the obvious thing to do because everyone seems to be doing it. When we had not worked with any major celebrity till then. So we had a lot of brainstorming sessions to understand if we're going to spend so much money, if we have one person representing the brand, who is the ideal fit, right? So broadly, you will always look at celebrities, say either cricketers or Bollywood, because those are the more recognizable faces. You want someone who's as big
वो
as,
national level पे they are
yeah,
brand. Yeah.
someone who's as big as or bigger than the brand, so you get those eyeballs and you get that recognition. Um, then we were also thinking of the fact that while you are going to be spending a lot of money on a celebrity, it should look like an organic fit. I think the moment it looks like, these guys have got money, they've just paid someone to say, I love Soul Store, it's going to seem very fake, it's going to fall completely flat. So we had to think of someone who would genuinely wear the kind of products that we sell, who would look good wearing those products. And I don't know if I should be saying this on a podcast, but we had one very clear idea of what the endorsement should not be. And we use this example even for our investors when we were discussing. We did not want the endorsement to be Amitabh Bachchan selling Navratan Tel. Like in our head, I think that was always a very good example of sort of forced endorsement ki matlab like literally someone is saying ye tel becho or ye tel kharido, whatever, it's good for your hair, you feel cool, etc. And we were like, that's not the vibe that we want to go for. People should look at this celebrity and be like, you know what, I think they would anyway normally wear the Soul Store in their life, it just makes sense. I think that is what we wanted to achieve. The reason we narrow down on Hardik Pandya is because he's just generally like a cool, fashionable, fun guy, right? You can think of him wearing like a cool superhero or a cartoon t-shirt. It doesn't seem out of place. So we got in touch with their team. We had anyway worked with their team on multiple other projects, right? The Rise team. So it was easy to get in
Rise
touch.
team.
Rise is the company that manages Hardik.
अच्छा RISE. Rise.
So we worked with them on multiple projects. We've had a great working relationship with them. So we decided to work with Hardik. I think unfortunately at that time or just after we had those discussions, I think he had gotten injured and he wasn't a part of the Indian team. And then interestingly in 2022, I think is when the two new teams in the IPL also got launched. So then he moved to Gujarat Titans as the captain. So very interesting time. That's the time we launched our first summer campaign with Hardik. He had a fantastic season. He absolutely killed it.
They're not won that year, but I think they're
So the first year they won.
They
yeah.
won. Yeah. They
So
won.
it kind of went from, he's injured, he's not a part of the team, he sort of come back,
Yeah.
captain of a new team, wins the IPL, things went fantastically
Yeah,
well.
fantastic.
And what also happened is the first time we shot with him, he absolutely fell in love with the products. So he loved the products, he loved the team, he loved the brand. He was really excited, right? It wasn't just an endorsement deal for him. So because that shoot went really well, the relationship got off on a really, really good note. We were exploring ways to see how we could work more closely longer term. And that's when the sort of idea or the discussion came, you know what, I actually want to be involved with you guys at a more intimate level and not just as an endorsement. So we were brainstorming a bit, and when we decided to extend our contract for another few years, that's when we decided to get him on board as an investor as well. And yeah, it's been 2.5, 3 years now. He absolutely loves the brand. We've loved working with him. And yeah, I think the investment is just sort of, going from dating to getting married, right? It signifies that
Yeah.
we're both really, really happy with how this has gone, and he's been fantastic for the brand.
So does he as a brand ambassador or now also as an investor, does he give inputs into the product or the design or what could be the right mix or something like that?
Honestly, not really. He's a very easy guy to work with. Yeah, he literally comes and says, "What products do you think I should wear? What do you think looks good on me? I'm happy to do that. You tell me to stand, you tell me to sit, you tell me to jump, I'll do it." Very easy guy to work with. He knows that the products look great on him. He also knows that as
Yeah, I
far as
think
the
somehow it
business
just-
side is concerned, he's like, "I trust you guys to do whatever it is. You make him say funny stuff, you make him do funny stuff. He completely trusts the brand that the output of the shoot or the content that we are creating will make the Soul Store and Hardik look good." So he has completely trusted us with the direction of the brand, with how we want to shoot content with him, and he's just been a very, very easy, nice guy to work with.
I think two points. I think the products look proper, proper fit on him.
Yeah.
ये इसी के लिए बनाया हुआ है.
Correct.
It really, I think he or Ranveer Singh, these are the two people on whom these kind of products, that cool, that funky kind of a look would look very good. I think Hardik Pandya really carries that off very well.
Yeah.
And second also, I think the way what you mentioned about the shoot and the marketing strategy or what you want as an output.
Correct.
I just seen the ad with him and then Viral Ghelani was there.
Yeah.
Viraj Ghelani.
Viraj, yeah.
Viraj Ghelani. So that was again, what do you call, self-depreciating humor kind of
Yeah.
ad on Hardik Pandya.
Yeah.
But it was made in a very good manner.
Correct.
And that's
Yeah.
what I could understand, that he's very spotty about all these
Absolutely.
things. कि हाँ भाई ठीक है, if it makes the brand look good and if the messaging goes out well.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
ठीक है, sounds good. Tell me about your best license which has made the most money for you over the last 10 years. Let's take it the best license which has made the most money for you, and your worst license which has not made money, and what were the reasons for both?
Got it. So honestly, I'll tell you why I don't like the word worst and best license, because it's a factor of multiple things, right? I think the definition of success is not just what your sales were, but what was the cost at which you acquired the license.
Absolutely.
Did it
So
did it
ROI
help you
times,
get did it help you get new customers? Or did it add significant brand value where customers are like, oh, TSS launched this license? So I think there's multiple ways to gauge the success or the failure of a license. I think for us in general, all the licensors that we have worked with have wanted to renew the contract with us. So usually you'll have 2 to 3 year agreements with all licensors. With every single license, they have come back to us for a renewal because they've loved what we've done with the brands. So I think for us, the success is the fact that today we have 200 plus licenses. For us today, success is the fact that any new IP owner that wants to enter the country and do merchandise would think of the Soul Store first. And I think a great example is Netflix. When we met the Netflix team a couple of years ago, and they were looking at India from a strategic and a merchandising point of view, our pitch to them was literally 15 seconds. We told them, if you want to launch merchandise in India and sort of build that Netflix credibility, if you don't work with the Soul Store, then who? It was literally that, right? Because the body of work that we have, how we worked with so many larger
So they
international
want to
licensors.
get into merchandising and
Yeah,
stuff.
and we were the no-brainer brand just because of the volume of work that we have. So I think for us, all our licenses in that sense are a success because everyone has wanted to renew it. And in terms of failure, again, I would genuinely call it a learning. I know it sounds
Learning,
cliched,
yeah.
and I'm going to talk again about our favorite WWE, right? Like you would know by now, I'm a massive fan. Sometimes when you mix business and fandom, lines can get blurry. And there is this sort of, I don't know, like there's almost like the fan and the founder fighting amongst each other because you always wanted to
Within
work.
yourself.
Yeah, because you're like, you know what, now this is a personal project, ego, fandom, vanity, ab jo bhi bolo. So we've had a couple of licenses, honestly, in the past where I've maybe thought as a fan first and a founder second. And sometimes things are not working out. The commercials don't make sense. You're trying very hard to make it work. You'll burn money on
And
marketing.
you know this beforehand only, okay, these commercials are little bit
No, so it
off the
depends.
track.
I think sometimes maybe you are optimistic as a fan thinking ki you will be able to sell so much, but there are early signs, right? So then what you do, you're like, okay, let me give more discounts. If the sales are not up to the mark, let me launch more products versus being efficient with inventory. You will burn more money on marketing. So I have made those mistakes personally where I sort of wanted to hard code
that,
success for a license. And yeah, with WWE it did happen. We had a couple of good years. Honestly, it did well. Then I think beyond the point, the commercials did not make sense. We tried very hard to sort of really, really push and hit certain numbers and targets. But when we realized that it was not sustainable, we decided that it's okay to let go. And I think the biggest learning I had at that time is that sometimes, while it's easy to mix the fan and the founder, sometimes if you need to take a hard call, you need to take a hard call. Although the emotional call is to probably continue doing something. And yeah, it's
maybe
always
maybe it could come back later on.
Absolutely.
When it makes more better commercials.
Yeah, and sometimes certain commercials, certain licenses probably don't make sense, and it's okay. Yeah? I mean, we have 200 plus licenses. There's no shortage of work or partners, so it's okay to be a little picky and choosy. And today we've now reached the stage where people approach us for us to take the license, and we sort of pick and choose what makes sense or what doesn't make sense for the brand.
How do you all assess this when you say that commercial sense, right? And WWE did not pan out the way it should have, or probably, I mean, I would be happier right now if WWE.
So would I. So would I.
We
But
both would be wearing more fresher
yeah,
t-shirts of
absolutely.
WWE.
Yeah.
But when you say commercial sense, can you give us some example? Maybe not the actual figures, but let's say in terms of अच्छा ये प्रोडक्ट 1,000 रुपए का है बट यू हैव टू पे हिम 200 रुपीज अप फ्रंट. Break it down in terms of numbers, if not actuals, but let's put it down in 1
I'll
lakh
give you an
rupee or
example.
1 crore rupee, whatever you, but
Yeah,
break it down in terms of
got it.
numbers.
So I'll tell you very
That it
broadly.
makes you decide okay this is commercial profitable, it makes sense.
Correct.
This does not make.
Cool. So I'll break this in two parts. First, I'll just tell you what the commercial structure of most licenses is, and then how do we sort of determine whether or not we should take that license, right? So with most licenses, you will have two parts. One is a minimum guarantee, which is an upfront fee to take a license, and the second is a royalty component, right? Which is basically a percentage of sales. So what happens is if I want to take the WWE license, there is a certain upfront fee which I need to pay them, which is the cost of acquiring the license. Let's assume it's 100 rupees, right? So I need to pay you 100 rupees upfront, irrespective of whether my sales are good, bad, or average, because that's the cost of the IP and that's the cost of the opportunity which you are giving me to use your artwork, your marketing materials, your
Yeah,
wrestlers,
your brand.
your brand basically, right? And let's assume the royalty is 10%. Now, if I do 1,000 rupees of sales, 10% of that is 100 rupees, right? I've already paid you 100 rupees, so I don't have to pay you anymore. If I do say 1,500 rupees in sales, 10% of that is 150. I've already paid you 100 upfront as my minimum guarantee, so I'll pay you the 50 rupees difference at the end of the year, which
Okay,
is
this
the
is
extra.
a yearly royalty.
Yes, usually it's a yearly or a 2 yearly royalty. We'll take a yearly royalty just for simplicity.
Yeah.
Now let's assume in the year I have only sold 500 rupees worth of merchandise, right? 10% is 50 bucks, but I have to still pay you 100 bucks because that's the minimum guarantee that I've already paid you. So that is a less profitable license because my minimum guarantee is 100 rupees. My sales are 500. So my minimum guarantee is actually 20% of my sales, which is expensive, right? So the first thing that you do is you estimate what would the sales be. Based on the sales, what is the kind of minimum guarantee that I'm comfortable paying? So I've got enough of a margin of error. So let's assume that for WWE, I think my sales will be 2,000 rupees in a year. 10% of that is 200. So I will probably give you maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 rupees as a minimum guarantee.
So you have to
Expecting,
negotiate with WWE. Let's say
correct.
WWE asked you 100 rupees MG.
Yeah.
But you will, as per your calculation, you say that okay, 2,000.
So I know I'll give you 200 at the end of the year, but obviously that is depending on my estimations working out. So if I think I'm going to give you 200 bucks at the end of the year, ideally I would probably want to give you say 40 or 50 rupees upfront so that I've got enough of a margin of error. Plus, I'm paying you 50 rupees upfront today. That 2,000 rupees is building up over a year, right? So I would ideally want to achieve those sales before I pay you royalty, right? I don't want to be out of pocket 200 rupees on day one of the contract.
Correct.
Right? Now the
that
second,
will impact your cash flow because you will have to pay
Absolutely.
200 rupees upfront.
And
Vis-a-vis, you pay 200 rupees over a period of 1 year. So you pay
Absolutely.
50 today, but you pay 150 again later. You are
Correct.
happy to pay that 200 provided
Yes.
that sales get clocked.
Yes, so it's basically everyone wins together.
Win too. Yeah.
Right? Now the second is how do you estimate that this will be 2,000 rupees of sale? So there's again two parts, the qualitative and the quantitative. The qualitative is how often are customers asking for it. I think that gives you a fair idea of how desperate customers are for the license and what's the demand for the license. The quantitative part is, are there comparable licenses that I've launched? So if I'm launching a football club, do I have other football club licenses where I can estimate what the sales are? Or if I'm launching a music band, to have other music bands, or if I'm launching WWE, what would I most closely associate with, right? So if Disney is doing X in sales or Warner is doing Y in sales, then can I assume that WWE will do Z in sales, right? Again, these are estimates. There
You'll
is
do
no
a projection sheet.
a projection
on your Excel
sheet based on how other comparable licenses do, what is the demand, how excited are customers. Based on that, you conservatively see that this is the minimum sales I should definitely do over a 1 or a 2 year period. And then what percentage of that can I give you upfront as a minimum guarantee? That's broadly how the commercial structure of licensing works.
This takes how much time to finalize? Okay, if you all got an offer from a company, कि आप मेरा license लो, or you all have
Yeah.
pitched to someone. How much
It's
time
usually
would
the
it
former.
take? Usually.
Yeah.
So how much time does it take for you guys to finalize? Okay, this is something. This is my negotiated price, and then to just close the deal, basically.
So honestly, I think for us today, it's slightly different. There is not that much bargaining, and I think for the reason for that is very clear. even the licensors understand that I'm not looking to make money from the soul store today by charging a higher minimum guarantee, because they want the opportunity to work with the soul store. What they're happy to do is sort of sign a lower minimum guarantee deal, because they know that eventually I am going to sell those products and I'm going to give them the royalty, right? So honestly, there is not that much negotiation on the MG. Everyone understands that the MGs also that we can give are significantly, or I wouldn't say the MG, the business plans that we can give are significantly stronger than what competition can give. So most of the negotiation is usually around adding more categories, adding more IP, and we actually spend more time discussing what kind of marketing and campaigns can we do together to grow the sales. So with most other partners, it would be more of a licensor, licensee contract and partnership. With us, it's more partners, right? You are essentially our brand partners in the country. How can we support you on design, on product, on marketing? How can we grow the brand together? Because I know that the Soul Store is my partner in India versus just being a licensee that sells products.
Yeah, just being a vendor versus a partner.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, the negotiations are, it's never a,
Now it's on this basically.
Yeah,
Earlier
it's-
it could have been on the MG
there
part
would have
and
been
the
some more,
percentage part
some more
and
back
stuff
and
like
forth. I think today people understand that the opportunity to work with the Soul Store itself comes at a certain price. So people are very, very flexible and practical in terms of, let's just get the Soul
Now
Store
it's about
number.
collaboration on building that brand or that
Yeah.
merchandise in India basically.
Absolutely.
So with Netflix it is what? So Netflix, all the IPs are there and all the
Most of
properties
them.
that
So
are there.
again, I mean, when you are an aggregator or a content platform, some of it is your original content, some of it is licensed content, some you have the merchandise rights, some you don't. But with Netflix, all the merchandise rights that they have for their top IPs are with us. And since you mentioned Netflix, they have a couple of big shows lined up over the next year and a half, and you're going to see some pretty cool launches at the Soul Store in the next 6 months, specific to Netflix IPs. Yeah.
What about WWE? I'm more interested in that. When are you getting that
So
back?
I mean, we've had a couple of interesting chats with them. To be honest, for all the WWE fans that are listening, I think there's been a bit of change happening at WWE, right? I think with the
TKO group.
takeover with TKO, there have been changes at the management level. I think they had a global deal with Fanatics as well. So there have been a lot of changes internally at their end. And if anyone from WWE is listening, we've reached out to you guys. We're happy to explore. The more we delay the launch, the more fakes crop up where you have no control over the quality, the design,
Yeah, it's
the
was
way
the reputation of
your reputation. People are buying
which
fakes
used to
off the
happen, by
street.
the way, in 2000, 2002,
Absolutely,
2004,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because I used to wear that from the street. I think we just used to
That's the
purchase
only
from-
option you have,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Unless you're really rich and you're going to spend 3,000-4,000 rupees ordering it from the US and then waiting a month for the product to be delivered. So we are in talks with them, but yeah, I think sometimes things just take time, unfortunately. But for the better. But yeah, whenever they're ready, I think we're ready to restart
Yeah.
our relationship. Yeah,
Looking forward to that.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great. So, tell me about your investment journey also, right? You all are bootstrapped for the first 5 years.
Yeah, 5.5.
Okay, and this investment outreach, maybe the first round also and the second round. I think you all have raised another one, which was what, from RPSG and Elevation.
Yeah, so
around
RP
130 CR or
yeah,
something.
that was the third round.
That was
Yeah.
the third round.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had 3 rounds. The first was with RPSG. Elevation Capital came in the second round. And then Exponentia, which is a Bombay based consumer fund, came in the third round. So we've raised 3 rounds till date.
And this is total worth 135 CR.
No,
Or
the third round was
one
135. I think the total is 200, 220, somewhere in that range.
Okay, got it. When you all were looking to raise the first round, right? But you all were, I think it was already established, 5-6 years ho gaya tha brand ko. What were the factors that you all considered while raising? How did you guys prepare for a pitch? Ke, acha, now we need to. But like you said, you all were bootstrapped, you all were making money. It was not a question ke you all are, there's
were
no
not
oxygen.
desperate.
Yeah, you all are not desperate. You all didn't have oxygen, right? It was not that question. What were the factors that you all looked forward and you all figured, "Acha, this is how we are supposed to raise funds, or this is how we are supposed to pitch, and the reason behind it, etc." What were the investors? How many investors doors did you guys knock, and then how did the close?
But I think there were, so
So there were many.
there were, but I think the advantage for us when we raised our first round of funding, like you said, is we were not desperate, right? What that meant was that if this did not work out, the company would still grow. It would just grow slower. That
It was
was our
sustainable.
that was our worst case scenario. When we did close our first deal with RPSG, and this is something that we're very very happy with in hindsight. Um, we did not chase the highest valuation. I remember in 2018 we had significantly higher offers, and when you are 28, 29 years old, you've been bootstrapped for 5 years, you've never really seen money, you've never been in a position to take home a larger salary. It's very, very tempting to kind of say, you know what, now this is the time for us to pat ourselves on the back and make cash. We even had acquisition offers at that time, and I'll be
Oh, is
very
it?
honest, it's
Okay.
tempting, right? It's very easy to tell yourself, you know what, I've worked hard for 4 5 years, great story, I've made a lot more money than I would have ever expected. I can just sort of bounce and then I'll figure it out, right? Then I have time to sort of follow my passions and my hobbies. So there were a lot
Travel
of
karo.
travel ye karo, wo karo. It's a very, very tempting thing for someone when you're 28, 29. It's also great validation for the hard work that someone wants to buy you out. Um, for better or worse, some of those conversations did not go through, right? I think we were also very clear that if you're going to work with an investor and they're essentially a partner in the company, we want people that we would be comfortable working with, right? You don't want someone who's sort of coming with a larger check and then directing things. There's a sort of disconnect in terms of what you want to build. There's investor pressure to do things when you know the organic growth path of the company is a different way. So when we did partner with RPSG, I think we were both aligned in terms of how we wanted to grow the business profitably. When we decided to do our first store, while they had a lot of reservations, they completely trusted us, saying, you know what, till now you guys have taken a lot of bets, it's worked out. You want to do a store, we are completely backing you guys, figure it out. So we chose the best partner and not the best valuation. In terms of how did we pitch to investors, I think we got lucky. So my three co-founders, like I said, are all financial analysts. That's what their first job was. They worked on tons of pitches, tons of models. So I think how to deal with investors, how to make a pitch look sexy, how to build the model, how to plan for what the next 5 years look like. I had absolutely zero experience. They've done all of that hard work on the modeling bit, and when it came to actually closing the agreement with the lawyers, I've had a bunch of experience working on agreements. Nothing like a shareholders agreement. It's a 100-page monster. Takes months and months of arguing with the lawyers. But I think somewhere that finance and that law experience kind of helped with the process. What helps the most is that you're a profitable brand. You don't need the money, and people want to work with you versus you are desperate to work with them. I think that's always a good dynamic to
And to
have
go
when
for
you're
value
racing.
over valuation.
Yeah, we had the privilege to do that, fortunately. And I'm very, very glad that we stuck with partners who are still invested in us and who've seen their investment probably, I think, today is well over 10x of what the investment value was in 2018 when they came on board. So I think it's been a happy marriage for everyone.
Yeah, it's a win-win for everyone. Yeah. What do investors typically, how are they helping you grow? How do they help you make decisions? What are the kind of, suggestions or feedbacks do these investors typically give you if a young founder is watching this, right? And many of the founders are, sometimes scared. Okay, if I'm going to dilute, if I'm going to get an equity investor, they'll start bossing over me. They'll take control over the company eventually. They will run the show. That whole thing comes inside them. कि भाई क्या होगा मतलब if an equity investor comes, if a fund comes in, they'll take a board seat. तो ऐसा क्या होता है? Do you just give some throw some light into what has happened
Very
with you guys?
subjective. I think again it depends on both the if the company is in a good shape. I think honestly most investors will not bother you. Though usually investors will get more involved when they need to get involved. Also it depends on the investors. I think if your company is doing well, you have the right set of investors. They will trust you when you want to take certain calls. Like I said, we're looking to open stores internationally. It's very easy for an investor to say you have absolutely no experience. You have 35 stores in India. You can easily open 500 in this country. Why do you want to go to another country and open it? But our investors trust us. You know what? Open one store. I know you guys will figure it out. So very important to choose the right partner. Where they've added a lot of value is on a couple of fronts. One is when you're looking for hiring senior folks. Your investors have a very, very good network of people that they can tap into, right? Whether it's consultants that you want to work with, it's people that you want to hire, agencies that you want to work with for different functions. That's something that they really help with. It's also very good to get an outside perspective. I think sometimes when you're involved very much in your day to day and your execution, I think sometimes it's always interesting when someone looks at it from a zoomed out view and asks the right questions and asks the hard questions, which I think can sometimes get missed. So we have monthly catch-ups with our investors to discuss more of the broader things. No one is going to ask you why did this one store ka sale drop or increase. Absolutely
Acha, no
not,
one
right?
asks. When you're doing broadly at a micro
It's a
level,
it's
you're
a
doing
much more
good.
macro decision, and yeah, if there are certain broader points that need to be figured, where is the brand headed? These are certain things that we need to be more mindful of. I think our investors have the comfort where they can pick up the phone at any point in time and question certain things. They also have the comfort that if we've given certain things thought and there's a direction that we want to go in, they will completely back us. So in terms of hiring, in terms of networking, in terms of asking the right questions, also these guys have invested in multiple companies, but they have been pitched to by hundreds of companies, right? So they've studied so many more companies, businesses, understand what works, what doesn't work, what are the opportunities out there. So I think just having people who have very in-depth industry knowledge always gives you perspective that you may not always get when you're sort of focused on one company, one business, one thing. So if you have the right investors, I think there's a lot of very solid value add that is there. But yeah, be very picky about who you go to bed with.
How many investors y'all had
We have
approached?
I have absolutely no
No,
idea.
no count. Okay.
Tons, yeah. So I think
But
in
it took some time to get
a
that
long
first deal closed.
Yeah, I think the second and the third deals took a little longer because those were sort of around COVID. There were a lot of ups and downs in general. I think we've gone through a lot of heartache, met multiple people, lots of pitches. Things went very close to getting finalized. Sometimes things work out, sometimes don't. So it can be frustrating. I think, like I said, you kind of seek validation also when people are trusting the brand and putting money. And when that doesn't happen, it can make you question a lot of things, right? We think this is the right way to go, but is it the right way? We are trying to focus on building
You
a,
start getting into self doubt also.
yeah, we want to build for profitability. We're not burning money today. Is that the wrong decision? Sometimes when money is cheap, it's easy to sort of get tempted and say, you know what, I want to burn for 6 months, show massive growth, and raise at a larger valuation. So a lot of times when things don't work out, you start sort of questioning yourselves, and it's very easy to slip into that mode. And there were times when we sort of very strongly wondered whether we are on the right path. Eventually, the deals got closed, funding happened. And I think today we're very happy that we have money in the bank. The company is EBITDA positive. We don't need to raise more funding. So we can take certain calls from a longer term perspective. We don't need to do stupid short term show quick growth decisions. I think that's a privileged position that we're very happy to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming to the fag end of the conversation, um, before you started Soul Store and during college days, or let's put it here, during college days, internship days, uh, this is a question that I like to ask to all my guests because it is something which is intriguing to me. What did money mean to you then at a personal level? And today, what does it mean when you are at this stage of your
I think very interesting question. And I think I could, to some extent, maybe speak for all of my co-founders because none of us have come from a lot of money. Like I said, no family businesses, very sort of,
not very privileged
yeah, I mean, decent. I mean,
middle class? Yeah.
middle class, like, you're not wanting for any of the basics, but obviously, as a kid, you're always like, shit, I wish I had that. I wish I could afford this. I wish I could go here. I wish I could do that. So I think there's always those aspirations. You have all of the comforts, and obviously, you don't have context on how difficult or how hard it is to earn money. So you, as a kid, you're always like, theek hai, you're not going to be grateful for what you have. You're always excited saying, I wish I could get that car, or I wish I could go here for a holiday, or I wish I could buy that, right? You don't understand
Yeah,
why
if you
you
see your
can or
friends
can't.
doing that or something
So I
like
think there is always that is always there. It's been an interesting journey with money. I think today, with where the company is, with how we are doing personally in lives, with secondaries, etc. I think today, fortunately, all of us are at a place where whatever you would want, whether it's a necessity or it's a bit of an indulgence, you can afford it. So it's a great place to be. It also gives you a lot of peace of mind and ability to take risks, right? I think when you're personally at a good place, the overall feeling I think that all of us have today is gratitude, because you've had sort of, it's an interesting space. You've had a middle class upbringing. You had aspirations where I wish I could afford ABC things, but you've always been grounded, right? That don't splurge, like have a sort of disciplined mindset. Today we're at that interesting phase where you sort of have the means to splurge a little more. You can fu money, let's just put it that way, right? ठीक है, like today I want to just get this, I can do this. Today I want to buy that, I can do that. But I think somewhere that middle class mindset is always there, right? Where your indulgences or your shocks are always going to be lower than what you can afford. And I think making sure that at whatever stage you are at in life, I think your demands, your indulgences are always lower than what you can afford is always a good place to be in. Otherwise, you're always going to be unhappy. I think if I look at where I am today, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, if I had to look at where I am today and say, you know what, if I decide I want to just take a week off, I can do that. If I want to holiday in ABC place, I can do that. If I want to go eat somewhere, if I want to travel somewhere, I don't have to think twice. I think it's a very, very privileged place to be in. So there's a lot of gratitude, and it's very easy to tell yourself, you know what, but I don't have that car, but I can't do this, or what if I could also do that? I think the moment you start getting into that spiral, it's a very, very slippery slope, and no amount of money is ever enough. So I think I'm very grateful for the fact that my means are greater than my requirements. And yeah, I mean, all my clothes are obviously the Soul Store, so my entire wardrobe is sponsored. I travel every couple of months, right? I'm not a car person, I'm not a gadgets person, I'm not a watch person, so I don't have
no
too many
wastage
things.
there.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy traveling and checking fun places out. I love working out, I love playing tennis, I love playing snooker. So yeah, I mean, honestly, once you got your basics covered and you're happy, then everything else is just
And,
a
you,
plus
and,
plus.
and when you can give time to all these of your little fun activities, so I think that's
Great
the best
point.
thing.
I think having control over your time
Yeah.
is probably the biggest privilege, more than I own this or I own that. So yeah, I think
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
I'm
for
of the
me, I think
same belief.
money is now a means to time versus a means to acquiring more stuff. And I think that's probably been the biggest evolution or the biggest change over the last 10, 11 years. Yeah.
I think that's true for, I mean, I think almost all middle class people, including me, that when you were brought up, during your childhood and college days, etc., you have aspirations. You want to do this, you want to do that. But of course, you have to stay in your means. You will not be able to do everything. So, mom, dad will always tell you, okay, no problem, we'll do it later on,
Absolutely.
stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And you will also understand because you're also mature. You're seeing how the conditions are, or how that aspiration cannot be met immediately. It will take some time. It's not that it's not going to happen, but then you will also have to put in that effort in your studies
No,
and
no,
your earning.
100%. And today you value it so much
You
more, right?
value it
Because
so much, yeah.
when you worked hard and you earned money versus pocket money, then you understand the worth of the money, right? When you're
Every penny, every
yeah,
penny
when you're
matters.
deciding to spend or not spend on something. So yeah, I think now there's a lot more maturity and appreciation for what our parents have done and the hard work that they've put to make sure that they give you the best life, the best education, the best everything that they can. I think there's a lot more appreciation now, also with maturity. When you're a kid, you don't really understand as much.
You appreciate you
A lot more.
appreciate money. You appreciate the time that okay, if you've made this much money, you are being able to spend that time with your loved ones
Absolutely.
because you have that freedom.
Correct.
Okay, you can give that 2 hours more.
Yeah.
You can take a holiday off.
Yeah.
You can take a weekend off
Correct.
because you've put in that effort. So you
Yeah.
are going to be grateful that अच्छा ये मैंने मेहनत किया है. So I deserve little bit to do that.
Yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
a very, very, very privileged place to be.
Yeah. All right. Let's come to the rapid fire.
Cool.
Okay. So you have to be quick, be rapid.
100%.
Most difficult license to crack.
Anime. All anime licenses in general.
What is anime? Sorry.
So all your Dragon Ball Z, Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer, that entire genre, lots of demand from customers. The licensors take a lot of time to get basic stuff approved. So it's been a very, very long journey.
How long did it take?
I mean, a lot of licenses have taken many, many, many months because they've just got a very different way of working. But to all the people who are looking for anime merch on TSS, and they've been very loud and very vocal, in the next 4 to 6 months, you're going to see a lot of your favorite characters and shows on TSS. Yeah.
Wonderful. One thing you would do differently if you were starting Soul Store again today.
I think the only thing we joke about is the name The Soul Store is a very long and very difficult and not easy to pronounce or spell. I think today with where TSS has reached, people will remember it. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people end up saying soul store, solid store, like random pronunciations. So maybe we just choose, I don't know, like an easier or a simpler name for people to remember. But apart from that, honestly,
Nothing.
nothing. Yeah.
Okay, great. Last one competitor brand you admire the most.
So I wouldn't say competitor brand, but I would say one of my favorite brands overall, which I really look up to, is Nike. And the reason I mention that is what they've done over the last 50 plus years now is phenomenal. The simplest way for me to tell you why I love Nike is you can literally pick any product that's in this room and you can put a tick on it, and I will believe that it's a great product, right? Let's look at this TV. Nike doesn't do televisions, but if you just put a tick on this television, I will believe that this is a significantly better product. I think the consistency of branding, the kind of partnerships that they've done, and just the overall aspirational brand that they've built is absolutely phenomenal. And it's something we look forward to very, very closely. I think if we could build a brand along those lines, where the logo means so much to so many people, and it's something we've started doing, where we have a bunch of products with our logo and people are willing to pay a higher price point. Obviously, very, very initial days for us. But Nike is a brand I personally love, and I would sort of, it would be a goal of mine if people sort of have the same love and the same inclination towards our logo someday. So for sure, I would say Nike and Apple as well. For the very simple reason that every time you buy an Apple product, the packaging, right, from the smallest to the biggest thing, it just looks like these guys have put so much thought, so much effort into making it simple. I think just having that, I don't know, like religious like fanaticism towards building the perfect product, packaging, and just making the experience seamless, you can tell that someone has put a lot of effort into making sure that you enjoy that 1 second where you open the box. And I just love that attention to detail.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
One last question.
Sure.
What is your vision for TSS the next 3 to 5 years?
So the answer that we give investors is we will IPO in the next couple of years. I think that's our commitment to the investors, and I think that's a goal. But I think the longer term vision, I think as founders would be, we want to sort of build India's biggest, most loved casual wear brand. So whether it's apparel, non-apparel, sneakers, perfumes, backpacks,
Oh, I love the sneaker
online.
collection.
Thank
online.
you. Yeah, online, offline, India, the world. I think world domination is the bigger founder goal that we want.
India
And
to the world.
absolutely. And I think as long as people trust the brand and the logo and the quality, nothing stops you from selling in a different country or a different category. So yeah, I think just building India's most loved brand.
Wonderful. Ah, that was amazing, Harsh.
Thank you, Devansh. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. I think a lot of learnings about this topic. Super fun interacting with you, understanding about your background, how you guys started TSS, about this business, about the middle class values, the upbringing, etc. that we spoke about. Lovely having you on Level Up and lovely chatting with you. I think can feel the good positive vibes, and I'm sure this episode is also going to
No, 100%.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
No, thank you so much. And yeah, hopefully we will get some WWE t-shirts for you. That's a personal promise.
100%.
Superb.
Done. Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
so
a
much,
lot.
Devansh. Thank you.